Have you ever looked at a building and felt like you were staring into the soul of a city? That's Notre Dame de Paris for you. For over 8 centuries, it has stood as a silent witness to history, a masterpiece of art, and a symbol of faith. But its story is not just one of serene beauty. It's a dramatic tale of creation, destruction, and incredible resilience. We all remember where we were. April 15th, 2019. The world watched in horror as flames engulfed the roof of Notre Dame and its iconic spire collapsed. It was a heartbreaking moment, a cultural wound felt across the globe. It felt like we were losing a part of our shared human heritage. But to truly understand what was at stake that day, we need to travel back in time, all the way to the 12th century. Imagine Paris in 1163. It's a bustling medieval city, the heart of the growing French kingdom. The old cathedral on the Isle de la Cite was looking a bit dated. A new, ambitious bishop named Maurice de Sully had a vision. He wanted to build a cathedral that would reach for the heavens, a structure so grand it would be a testament to the glory of God and the ingenuity of humankind. He laid the first stone, and so began one of the most ambitious construction projects of the Middle Ages. This wasn't just another church. This was the birth of Gothic architecture on a scale never seen before. The builders of Notre Dame were pioneers. They wanted soaring heights and walls filled with light, a stark contrast to the dark, heavy Romanesque churches of the past. To achieve this, they used a revolutionary combination of techniques. Pointed arches, which could bear more weight and direct it downwards. Ribbed vaults, which distributed the ceiling's weight to slender columns. And of course, the famous flying buttresses. These flying buttresses are the architectural superstars of Notre Dame. They are essentially external stone arches that support the tall, thin walls from the outside. By transferring the immense weight of the roof and vaults outwards and down to the ground, they allowed the builders to pierce the walls with enormous, magnificent stained glass windows. For the first time, a building of this size could be flooded with colored light, creating a truly divine, ethereal atmosphere inside. These windows, especially the 3 magnificent rose windows, became one of the cathedral's defining features, telling biblical stories in vibrant jewel tones. Construction was a monumental task, spanning generations. Think about it. No power tools, no cranes as we know them, just the skill of thousands of anonymous stonemasons, carpenters, and artisans. For nearly 2 centuries, the site was a hive of activity. The choir was built first, then the nave, the main body of the church. The western facade with its 2 iconic towers rose slowly, decorated with a gallery of kings and intricate sculptures depicting biblical scenes, like a stone Bible for the illiterate masses. Finally, in 1345, after 182 years of toil, Notre Dame was officially complete. It stood as the majestic heart of Paris. For the next several centuries, Notre Dame was the center stage for French history. Kings were crowned, royal weddings were celebrated, and generals were honored within its walls. It witnessed plagues, wars, and the changing tides of the city around it. But its golden age wouldn't last forever. The late 18th century brought the French Revolution, a period of violent anti-clerical sentiment. The cathedral suffered terribly. It was desecrated, rebranded as a temple of reason, and its religious treasures were plundered. Many of the statues on its facade, including the Gallery of Kings, were mistaken for French monarchs and were beheaded or destroyed. The building was neglected and used in the early 19th century. Notre Dame was in such a state of disrepair that city officials were considering tearing it down completely. It seemed like its story was coming to a tragic end. And then a writer saved it. In 1831, Victor Hugo published his masterpiece, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The novel wasn't just about the tragic Quasimodo and the beautiful Esmeralda. The true protagonist was the cathedral itself. Hugo's vivid, passionate descriptions of Notre Dame's beauty and its sad state of decay captured the public's imagination. He wrote, "A great building is like a great mountain, a work of centuries." His book sparked a national outcry and a renewed appreciation for Gothic architecture. People demanded that this national treasure be saved. Hugo's campaign was a success. In 1844, a massive restoration project was launched, led by the architect Eugene Viollet-le-Duc. Now, Viollet-le-Duc was a brilliant but controversial figure. He wasn't just repairing the damage. He was reimagining the cathedral based on his own ideal of the medieval aesthetic. He restored the sculptures, repaired the chapels, and most famously, he designed and added the iconic 300-foot spire, the very one we saw fall in 2019. He also added the whimsical gargoyles and chimeras that now famously gaze out over Paris from the cathedral's heights. While some purists criticized his additions as inauthentic, his work undoubtedly gave Notre Dame the definitive silhouette we came to know and love. For another century and a half, Notre Dame stood proud, surviving 2 world wars and welcoming millions of visitors each year. It was more than a church. It was a museum, a concert hall, a tourist attraction, and a symbol of Paris and France itself. Which brings us back to that devastating fire in 2019. The blaze, likely started by an accident during renovation work, destroyed the oak-beamed roof known as the Forest and Vialet-Duc's spire. The world held its breath, fearing the entire structure would collapse. But the main stone vaulting, the work of those medieval master builders, largely held. It protected the priceless interior from the worst of the inferno. The twin bell towers were saved, and firefighters heroically rescued many of the cathedral's most precious relics, including the crown of thorns. The fire was a tragedy, but it was not the end. The morning after, French President Emmanuel Macron promised the world, "We will rebuild." And that's exactly what has been happening. An unprecedented restoration effort began, combining medieval craftsmanship with 21st century technology. Artisans are using the same techniques as their 12th century counterparts to cut the oak beams for the new roof. Scientists are using 3D scans to ensure every detail is recreated perfectly. The new spire, an identical replica of Vialet-Duc's design, has been carefully hoisted back into place, once again gracing the Paris skyline. The story of Notre Dame is a powerful cycle of creation, neglect, near destruction, and rebirth. From the vision of Bishop de Sully to the genius of the Gothic builders, from the passion of Victor Hugo to the bold restoration of Vialet-Duc, and now to the global effort to heal the wounds of the 2019 fire. It teaches us that even when our most cherished symbols are threatened, human spirit, ingenuity, and a shared love for our history can bring them back from the ashes. As Notre Dame prepares to reopen its doors, it stands not just as a monument of the past, but as a beacon of hope for the future, a testament to our ability to build, to preserve, and to rebuild again. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories behind the world's greatest landmarks. The sun is setting over the zinc roofs of Paris, casting long shadows across the River Seine. The tourists are lining up for the last entry of the day, snapping photos of the flying buttresses that seem to stretch out like wings. Inside, the priests are preparing for evening mass. The air is cool and dusty. High above in the attic, a vast expanse known as the Forest, because it is built from massive oak trees cut down in the 12th century, the workers are finishing up for the day. The forest is a labyrinth of ancient beams, some over 1,000 years old. The wood is dry as tinder, held together by iron clamps. The roof above the forest is covered in thousands of tons of lead, a protective skin that has weathered centuries of rain and snow. No one knows that a spark, a tiny, fleeting ember, has already begun its deadly work, hiding in the dark crevices of the ancient wood. At 6:20 p.m., the fire alarm screams. The security guards rush to the attic, checking the monitors, but they see nothing at first. The fire is hiding, smoldering in the dark, invisible to the cameras. It is a false alarm. The guards resume their patrol, but 23 minutes later, the alarm screams again. This time, the smoke is too thick to ignore. When the guards finally reach the upper levels, the nightmare has begun. The flames are no longer hiding. They are roaring, consuming the centuries-old dry oak of the forest with terrifying speed. The lead roof begins to melt, dripping down like lethal silver rain, mixed with the black acrid smoke that now billows out of the spire. The before is ending. The visual of the cathedral is changing in real time. Thousands of Parisians gather on the banks of the Seine and the bridges. Their faces are illuminated by the orange glow. Some are crying, some are praying, some are filming in disbelief. The fire brigade arrives with incredible speed, but they are fighting an impossible battle. The water trucks are too small. The hydrants are too low. The fire is hundreds of feet in the air, dancing on the roof. The wind is blowing the flames toward the North Tower where the great bells hang. If the bells fall, if the timber frame supporting the towers collapses, the entire structure could come down, crushing the vaults and destroying the western facade. The commander of the fire brigade makes a desperate decision. Send firefighters inside the towers, risking their lives to fight the fire from the interior, to save the structure from within. As the night deepens, the world watches in horror. The live feeds broadcast the destruction to every corner of the globe. We see the flames engulfing the roof. The heat is so intense, it can be felt from the ground. The spire, the iconic flatch added by Violella Duck, begins to tilt. It is wrapped in scaffolding for renovation, a wooden cage that feeds the fire even more. At 7:50 p.m., the iron structure weakens. The wooden beams turn to ash. The crowd gasps, a collective groan of grief echoing through the city. The spire collapses. It crashes through the burning roof, disappearing into the inferno. It feels like a death in the family. It feels like the soul of Paris has been pierced. The roof is gone. The sky above the nave is open for the first time in 800 years. And yet, in the midst of this devastation, a miracle is happening. The firefighters, risking everything, manage to stop the fire from spreading to the North Tower. The great organ, with its 8,000 pipes, which sits just beneath the open roof, survives, covered in a layer of dust but intact. The 3 rose windows, masterpieces of medieval art, withstand the thermal shock, their lead holding firm despite the drastic temperature changes. The crown of thorns, a relic saved by King Louis IX in the 13th century, is carried out of the burning building in a hurried procession, held high like a treasure. By the time the flames are finally tamed, by the next morning, the cathedral is a shell. The roof is gone, the spire is gone, but the stone walls still stand. The after has begun. The visualization now shifts to the cold gray light of dawn on April 16, 2019. The smoke is still rising, but it is thin now, white against the morning sky. The damage is revealed in its stark entirety. The lead roof is a memory. The vaulted ceiling of the nave is punctured in 3 places, giant holes looking up into the void. The floor is covered in debris, charred wood, and twisted metal. There is a stillness that feels unnatural. The bells are silent. The tourists are gone. The cathedral stands like a wounded soldier, bandaged and bleeding, yet still standing. French President Emmanuel Macron stands among the ruins and vows that the cathedral will be rebuilt within 5 years. It seems an impossible timeline, a promise made in the heat of emotion. In the days and weeks that follow, the story of the after becomes one of resilience and science. The site is treated like a crime scene and a hospital combined. Robots are sent in to stabilize the structure, to map the destruction with millimeter precision. Scaffolding, which was damaged by the fire and threatened to fall on the vaults, is painstakingly dismantled by engineers suspended on ropes. The lead dust covers the surrounding streets, a toxic legacy of the fire, forcing a massive cleanup operation. The world grieves, but the world also gives. Donations pour in from all over the planet, from billionaires and from school children saving their lunch money. There is a universal recognition that this is not just France's heritage. It belongs to humanity. We visualize the painstaking work of the archaeologists and conservators working inside the closed cathedral. They find melted bells, pieces of the destroyed spire, and even the iron staples used in the 12th century to hold the stone together. These iron staples, studied by scientists, reveal that medieval ironworkers were far more advanced than we thought, using chemistry to bond the iron to the stone. This knowledge becomes crucial for the restoration. The after is a time of learning, of rediscovering the secrets of the ancestors who built it. The physical rebuilding begins. It is a clash of modern technology and ancient craft. To replace the roof, they must find oak trees of the same quality used in 1160. It is not easy. France has changed. The forests have changed, but they find them. They cut down over 1,000 large oaks from forests across the country, trees that have stood for centuries. They are felled with the respect due to elders. Then comes the labor of shaping the wood. Carpenters use axes that look exactly like those found in the Viking era, hand-hewing the logs into beams. They work by hand, just as their medieval predecessors did, because the computer-milled beams do not have the same strength or character. The visualization of the carpenters working in a giant warehouse outside of Paris is a portal to the past. Shavings fly, the smell of fresh oak fills the air, the sound of chopping creates a rhythm. Meanwhile, the stonemasons face their own challenge. The limestone of the vaults was subjected to extreme heat and then doused with water. The stone is calcined, turned to lime dust in some places, fragile and brittle. They must inject glue into the stone to harden it, a modern resin technology saving the medieval fabric. The gargoyles and chimeras that watched the city for a century, now damaged or removed for safety, are taken to workshops where sculptors study the marks of the old masters to replicate them perfectly. There is a debate in France. Should they rebuild exactly as it was before, or should they add a contemporary gesture? Should the new spire be identical to Viollet-le-Duc's, or something new, maybe a greenhouse or a beam of light? In the end, tradition wins. The people want their Notre Dame back. The decision is made to rebuild the spire exactly as it was, a faithful replica of the 19th century design. As the years pass, we see the scaffolding rising again, a towering skeleton of metal tubes encasing the cathedral. It is even bigger than the previous scaffolding, a testament to the scale of the work. The roof is rebuilt. The new lead sheets are hammered and placed on top of the oak frame, recreating the gray, protective skin. The spire, reassembled piece by piece on the ground next to the cathedral, is finally ready to be lifted. It is a moment of high tension. Using a massive crane, the base of the spire is hoisted up, fitting perfectly into the transept. Then the upper section, the statue of the rooster Weathervane, restored and blessed with relics from the Pope, is placed at the very top. The rooster shines gold against the sky. The visualization of the after is not just about the building. It is about the spirit. It is about the craftsmen who spent years on this project, many of whom were young apprentices at the start and are now masters of their trade. It is about the restoration of the great organ, dismantled, cleaned, and reassembled, its pipes polished to a shine. It is about the cleaning of the interior walls, which had turned black with centuries of candle soot, now revealing the creamy beige color of the original limestone, a look the medieval builders would recognize. Now, visualize the day of the reopening. The scaffolding is gone. The roads are open. The president is there, but the real guests are the people of Paris. The gates swing open. The first visitors step inside. The light pours through the clean windows, bouncing off the white walls and the polished floors. The acoustics have changed slightly. The space feels brighter, larger, almost ethereal. The organ roars to life, a sound that shakes the ribs. The rose windows catch the sun and cast red and blue jewels onto the congregation. The wound is healed. The scar remains, invisible to the eye, but known to the heart, a reminder of the fire. In this after state, Notre Dame is no longer just a relic of the past. It is a symbol of resilience. It has proven that it can survive the rage of revolutionaries and the fury of fire. It stands as a testament to the fact that human creation is fragile, yet the human will to preserve, to create, and to believe is unbreakable. The fire of 2019 did not destroy the cathedral. It forced the world to look at it again, to appreciate it, and to recommit to it. It transformed it from a museum piece into a living entity once more. The story of Notre Dame before and after the fire is a cycle of destruction and rebirth that mirrors the history of civilization itself. It teaches us that nothing is truly permanent, that even mountains of stone can fall, but that love, labor, and memory can raise them from the ashes. It stands on the island in the Seine, a survivor, watching the river flow into the endless ocean of time, carrying the stories of the past into the mystery of the future. The spire that fell now rises again, a defiant finger pointing toward the heavens, whispering to the generations that follow that we are small, our time is short, but what we build and love can outlast us by 1,000 years.